in here.
And the bass keeps running, running, and 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 running, running, and.
Hello, and welcome to Saturday Night Live Mongolia.
Tonight our topic is the Mongols. Is that not ironic considering that they're the founders of our great nation?
No, Seth, it is not ironic. It is situational irony.
It's fine, Sophie, but gosh, why do you think you're smarter than me? I'm always right. You should remember that.
Moving on. Now I'd really like to introduce our guest stars. Drumroll please. Our first guest is Genghis Khan. And now the incredible Ogadai, who's Genghis Khan's son. Wow, three generations of guest stars tonight because our final guest is Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan.
The Mongol Empire was the world's largest land-based empire. That empire first came to be under the rule of Genghis Khan when he united the Tatars tribes under one leader in 1206.
Genghis Khan spread the empire using impressive military strategies as well as dividing his government into many governors who collected tributes from the conquered lands. These governors were chosen because of their loyalty and ability, not based on class.
Genghis Khan ruled harshly with strict laws, but he was also a very religiously tolerant leader. Under the rule of Genghis Khan's son Ogadai, the empire experienced a time of peace and prosperity, known as the Pax Mongolica. In 1260, the United Empire split between four land areas: the Great Khan, Il Khan, Jagadai Khan, and the Golden Horde.
Now, it is time for our first segment, Khan Talk. Sorry, Seth, you're gonna have to leave.
Well, Great Khan, I think it is time to hand the floor to you.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
Well, where do I start? I guess I can explain the time period and dates of our empire. It starts when the Mongolian tribes are unified under Temujin, later named Genghis Khan, which means universal leader. Then under Genghis Khan, the empire spreads. The Mongol Empire is united until 1260, when it is broken up into the empire's four largest units, each ruled by a different grandson of Genghis Khan. One of the rulers of these units, Timur, the Khan of the Jagadai Khanate, and later became known as Tamerlane, rose to power and reconquered most of Central Asia. His descendants ruled over Central Asia until the 1500s.
Yes, Ogadai, father. This is all very true, but they don't just want dates. They want to understand the rich history of our empire. So I will explain this chronologically. It all started off with Genghis Khan ruling the Mongols. He expanded the Mongols into Central Asia, part of the Middle East, and all the way to the parts of Korean Peninsula. When Genghis died, there were four new khanates. After a good bit of time, Ogadai took the throne in 34, and the empire rapidly expanded over all Asia. Ogadai died in 1241. In about 4 years, they did not have a solid leader. Two leaders that were very insignificant, Guyak Khan and Monkey Khan, whose combined rule was from 1246 to 1259. During their time as Khan, there was an expansion into Song China, and the destruction of the Abbasid Caliphate occurred. Next, Kublai Khan came to rule the Mongols. He helped found the Yuan dynasty, which marked the end of the Song Empire. After Kublai Khan dies, everything just goes downhill. The empire begins to fall apart in 1330, and by the 1368, the Yuan dynasty was overthrown. A descendant of the Mongols, however, came to power. His name was Timur, and he ruled over much of the former Mongol Empire in the late 14th and early 15th century. He died in 1405, and the Mongols were gone.
Wow, this is an impressive history. But what about the cultural and religious significance of this empire? Sophie, why don't you share what you found by talking to our guest, Genghis Khan?
The Mongols were an extremely tolerant empire of different religions. When the Mongols started out as a nomadic empire, many of them practiced shamanism, but they easily converted to many religions as they conquered more territory. Islam was well supported as there were quite a few mosques in China. The Mongols were also captivated by the Tibetan form of Buddhism and even hired several Buddhist monks to help rule China and promote Buddhism. Nestorian Christianity was promoted as well because Kublai Khan's mother followed this faith. However, they did not support Taoism because it conflicted with Buddhism. The Mongols were culturally a nomadic group. As nomads, the Mongols traveled vastly and raised goat, sheep, camels, cattle, and horses. The Mongols were well known for their hospitality. Upon a guest's arrival, they would serve traditional treats. And the household daily responsibilities were divided among the family members, and all jobs were considered important. Genghis, did I get the gist of it?
Yes, Sophie, I believe you just described my life pretty well. But now I would love to share the social significance of the Mongols. You see, other nations we were known as barbarians and savages, but our people were much more than that. We had the largest land-based empire. It took lots of people and fighters to control this empire, but we were very tolerant, as we let previous leaders become a part of our government as long as they paid us tributes, of course. Our empire was so impressive that under the rule of my son Ogedai, we experienced a Pax Mongolica, a time of peace and prosperity. Since we had conquered so much land and were so dominant militaristically, there were very few wars. Another great thing about our empire was that our people adopted the culture of the conquered land. We often practice two religions within one family, like a mix of Islam, Christianity, or Tibetan Buddhism.
Wow, now what about our political significance? The Mongol Empire had a huge political significance because they opened up many trade routes and allowed safe passage because they controlled most of the land along the trade routes, causing trade to flourish. Another key political significance of the Mongols was that they allowed people to keep their religions once they were conquered. The Mongols were great conquerors, so the Russians decided to allow the Mongols to peacefully take control of their cities rather than have them destroyed. The Mongols allowed many of the rulers that they conquered to keep their land and religions as long as they paid taxes. Genghis Khan allowed for fair taxes on poor people. He also allowed people to move up in his government based on loyalty instead of social class. The Mongols unified much of Asia and held a lasting impact on the politics of these regions.
Don't forget about our great economic achievements. Since trade was so prosperous, we were pretty loaded. Due to the discriminant of trade along the Silk Road, the Mongols gained easy access to Chinese goods. This brought great wealth to Eastern European traders who bought goods. The Mongols also introduced paper money to the Russians. This helped to stabilize the country from recession caused by falling prices of gold and silver.
We aren't done yet. We had some pretty great technological accomplishments. We created the first form of mail known as the yam. This was made possible because of our vast control over the Silk Roads. We also created the stirrup, which helped our military greatly. We were some of the best cavalrymen in the world, able to shoot our bows like so, further and more accurately than anybody else in the entire world, on our horses.
Wow, I knew you guys were the right cons for the job of retelling our fascinating history for everyone on SNL Mongolia.
We aren't done yet. I found a great source from Marco Polo's journal explaining his perspective on the family unit of a Mongolian person. Marco Polo writes about how the Mongols traveled to warm places during the winter and cooler mountainous regions during the summertime. They traveled constantly to ensure their cattle's well-being. The women are also an important part of Mongolian society, as the women attend to their trading concerns, buy and sell, and provide everything necessary for their husbands and their families. The time of the men is devoted entirely to hunting, hawking, and matters that relate to the military life.
Wow, that was a great contact. Till next time, everybody. Now it's time for our weekly update from Seth.
Hello, people of Mongolia. Today's topics are important people and events, as well as the geographical significance of the Mongols. Some of the important people in the Mongol Empire, which also include all of our guest stars. Our head guests tonight are Genghis Khan, who founded the Mongols and was a powerful military leader for them. Ogedai Khan, who was the son of Genghis Khan, and he also led the Mongols. He stretched the empire all the way from the Pacific to Europe. Next up is Kublai Khan, who was the grandson of Genghis Khan and was the founder of the Yuan Empire. He, however, is also known for his failed invasion of Japan. Our last guest star for this evening is Hulagu, who was the general of the Mongol Empire, and he helped destroy the Abbasid Caliphate, as well as the fact that he attacked much of the Middle East while he was the general.
Wow, such interesting guests. Seth, tell us more about the events of the Mongol Empire.
Sure, Sophie. The beginning of the Mongol Empire began in 1206 with the domination of Mongolia, and Temujin became Genghis Khan. Genghis later died in 1227, and his son Oghai became the Great Khan of the Mongols. In 1236, the Mongols attacked Korea and Europe. In 1258, they destroyed the Abbasid Caliphate. In 1271, they started a new empire, the Yuan Empire, in China. The Mongol Empire officially split into 4 different sections then: the Golden Horde, the Ilkhanate, the Jagadai, and the Empire of the Great Khan. One of their great leaders was Kublai Khan, and he helped expand the Mongols. He died in 1294, and after his death, many Mongols converted to Islam. The Yuan Empire fell in 1368, and this was the beginning of the end for the Mongols. The vast empire had quite a lot of geographical significance. The Mongols were located in Central Asia. They stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to the Middle East and Europe. They occupied nearly all of what is now known as Asia in their heyday.